Thank you very much, Dieter, to invite us at this Motor Academy. I think many participants knows me already quite well. Before we start, you asked me some weeks ago, and Fernando too, to give an update, on how, let's say, EASA members are servicing motors in 2024. So that's what we are going to do. And by the way, at the beginning, I spent some time first to explain EASA, not to sell it, or we are growing quite well, we are developing quite well, and so on. But I think it's interesting to see, other service companies also work together to develop some new training solutions, projects, and so on. So behind this presentation, it's more about the spirit and the needs that also we have to continue, to work together, and then to develop those benefits and resources for our members. So, Bjørn, maybe you can quickly introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Frédéric, and hello, everyone. My name is Bjørn Mjåtveit from Norway, in Northern Europe, as I guess all of you are familiar with. Actually, today I'm sitting in Denmark visiting another conference where we speak about the wind industry, so a very interesting day. And mainly I work in and around services related to electrical motors and motor systems. And I just want to, we are speaking a lot of interesting topics today, but I just want to get one message out there, which I heard today many times: energy efficiency and system efficiency. So a trend word coming in now, and I think we all have to change and adapt to that. Frédéric?
So, very quickly, Frédéric Beghain, I'm the General Manager of EASA in Europe, Asia, and Africa. Let's say I have a long history in the motor industry. First, I'm from Belgium, based in Luxembourg. I have a Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering, and then an Executive MBA from the Euro MBA. I spent lots of time with ABB. I was the first one in the world to develop total motor management. I spent also some time with Vestas. Bjørn, you were mentioning the wind turbine industry. I was Service Sales Director for the whole Mediterranean region and Latin America. And for the last 10 years, I'm happy to say that I'm having the best part of my career as the General Manager of EASA in Europe, Asia, and Africa. And I'm saying so because we are in a very interesting industry with lots of development, and I'm very happy to work with my members on all the developments we have now in this industry. So just to explain a little bit why do we have EASA, this is an exercise that we did this year to let's say, develop our new strategy. So we came back to our customers and we said, by the way, why are you in EASA? And they said, first, we have some problems to find the right people to train them. We see that climate change is an important, very important topic. So we would like to contribute more in terms of energy efficiency and circularity. We see that there are lots of development in terms of technology with this data revolution and servitization. We understand also that our industry is consolidating. We see more and more service groups developing and so on. We understand that today the topic is about electrification, and then we understand that there will be more energy systems and so on. So we need to be prepared to service much more machines than what we were doing. We understand that because of all of this data and the importance, of those machines to be more efficient and so on, there will be more development in terms of regulations. And then we see also that there are lots of growth in developing countries. So let's say at the end, we want to be together, and we think that if we are together, we will be stronger, and we want to, in some ways, shape the future. So that was, the conclusion of this why exercise. And then when we asked them, how do you want us to do so? They said, we would like that we continue to be more professional. We want to anticipate more and more, and we want to have a strong community that can work together, to do all of those things. And then what kind of, let's say, special benefits and resources do you expect then from EASA? First, network, because they want that we continue to get benefits of each other, to learn from each other and so on. Then we want EASA to support us in terms of learning and education. We would like EASA to be more and more active in regulations. We need that EASA provide us more and more technical insight and supports. And then we need to work on marketing, because we need that all of us continue to make progress around those topics. So this is, let's say, a quick summary of all the resources and benefits we offer to our members. And you can see that at the core of everything is our professional network. We have 1,800 service companies in 80 countries that are members of EASA, but because this is the core of our association. But on top of that, we have also some very important suppliers that are members. Most of the major OEMs now are very active in EASA and even more and more active in EASA. But we have also suppliers for coils, for, let's say, machines that we need in our workshop, for new layouts and so on. So there is a big diversity of, let's say, suppliers that are also active in EASA. And then what makes EASA very unique is that we have 6 permanent experts that are available for any kinds of questions. And you understand that this is an active way that on daily basis, we understand what's happening in our industry, because those guys receive 20,000 emails, for example, per year. So they have a good understanding about all the training that we need to provide to our members. We have a big database, and by the way, I'm going to give a little bit more details about the technical manual, because around that there are lots of very interesting aspects. We are active in standard bodies. We are in IC, ICX, IEEE, and so on. And for example, the actual chairman of the ICX commission in charge of our industry is one of our main trainers, John Allen. So you see that we are paying already attention about those things, and we will continue to invest even more, you know, on those aspects. Bjørn is going to give details about the important EASA accreditation and why did we did we develop this accreditation. I'm also very happy because we have lots of volunteers, so lots of people that are in different committees and working with us on various projects and so on. And then we have a unique database with 300,000 motors to support our members, you know, in this large number of machines that are running now in the world. And whenever we cannot find, let's say, details to repair those machines through the network, we have the chance to access, let's say, to some of those info. And the last thing is that we organize lots of events. In 3 weeks, for example, we'll be in Las Vegas with 2,500 participants. But then I'm going to give you a little bit more details about previous events that we did and the next ones that we will do in the coming months. This is just one slide from one of our members who said, we have really one of the best insight into the installed base. And then you see that, like all of you, by the way, we are not only in rotating machine in the whole system, from the static electrical machines to power electronics and then to rotating equipment. So when you think about EASA members, think about, let's say, this system that many of them are involved in. I'm not saying that all of them provide all of those, let's say, services, but we see that more of them are going in that directions, and more of them are offering them more and more services on other equipment than just the motors. I wanted to spend a little bit some time on the technical manual. So this is a very important asset, I would say, even in EASA, because you know that you need in some ways a standard document between all the members about how do we repair those machines. So for many, many years, we went through that exercise, but I think today it's even a very powerful one, because rather than, let's say, so we have regular updates. thanks to our members that are active in these commissions. And it means that every year, you know, there are lots of them that are reviewing those manuals and then asking us to maybe include some new paragraph, to go for some new techniques, and then to correct maybe some of the ones that, that's a very important asset of EASA membership, of having access of this technical manual with 900 pages. We also offer more and more, let's say, webinars, video for training, and so on. And then lots of forms, because that's not an easy aspect. And by the way, you have lots of customers that are now trying to develop their own forms and so on. So there is even time to time a necessary discussion to maybe challenge some of those customers on the real need, you know, to go for all of those tests, and to maybe have a good discussion and to say, sorry, but when we look about the rest of the industry, you know, you need those tests, but those tests are not recommended, and so on. So we are helping our members through all of those forms, and we also now provide more and more calculators, online tools. This is one example about loop tests, and so on. And then, because I was mentioning that in our industry, one of the main challenge today is about people. So we have invested quite a big amount of money in a learning management platform. And let's say this will give the chance to lots of newcomers in our industry to then access to like a standard training that is now available around the world on different topics. We've also some tests and so on. And at the end, some certificates to recognize, you know, the performance of those technicians through the training they will go through with this new learning management platform. Very quickly about all the events that we organize. So in April, for example, we were in Dubai the day before the Middle East Energy Fair. We were in Berlin before the coal winding show, with whom we are now also collaborating. Last week, Didat had the chance to attend with me EASA BEMAS Motor Club with the Belgian Maintenance Association in Belgium. As I said, from the 23rd to the 26th, we'll be in Las Vegas for, I think, the biggest congress in the world related to motor services, with 2,500 participants. And then we will be in Porto with members from Europe, Asia, and Africa from the 3rd to the 5th of October. And we are happy now also to develop a new congress with EDF in Paris on the 27th and 28th of November at Paris-Saclay. And this is just a picture of all the members that were attending our convention in Nice. Please, we recognize the importance of technicians and so on. But what I would like to say is that here in this picture, you have lots of executives and lots of top experts. And I made a quick calculation. We had around 1,000 workshops attending that event in Nice last year. So we expect the same group and even more participants in Porto from the 3rd to the 5th of October. Very quickly, because you cannot join EASA like that. There is a number of requirements. And I'm always saying that when members are joining us, they have first to sign this business code of conduct. And you can see that we already highlight the importance for them to follow, by the way, some of our important standards and so on, like the AR100 that Bjørn is going to. But we also ask them to, follow, all the development in terms of energy efficiency, sustainability, recycling, and so on. And when they join us, they also sign this commitment. And one of the things that is very interesting is that we ask them to describe, all the services that they provide to their customers, all the equipment that they have in their, let's say, workshops and so on, because we see more and more customers going to our website and looking, about those important info. And by the way, because this is also developing, I'm contacted more and more by members around the world that suddenly have a problem on Saturday afternoon and needs a support in one machine around the world. And then they ask to some local EASA members to go to check, if there is a real problem or not, if there is a real need to send a motor to a workshop and so on. So these are also the benefits that we provide to those members. And I think it's a very powerful argument of joining EASA, because as you can imagine, it saves lots of money for those members to have access to that kind of services and within the association. So I'm going now to explain a little bit, what kind of services we are offering. And Bjørn, whenever you want to jump in, please do so. So this is just some of the, let's say, results of market research that we do, by the way, every 3 years. So every 3 years, we assess, the service companies to understand what are they doing and what kind of challenge do they have. Then we do also every 3 years the same assessment with the motor manufacturers. What do they expect from the service companies? What kind of services they think those service companies will have to offer in the future, and so on. And then the last audience that we also assess every year is the most important, the customers, the end users. So what kind of, again, performance do they expect from all of us, and so on. And these are some extracts of those market, let's say, research. So we ask them, what kind of typical service you are offering. You see first repair. This is the vast majority, but not only, because we see more and more condition monitoring company around motor systems that are also joining us. You see that many of our members also offer pump repairs, mechanical repair, for example, gearboxes. For sure, we have lots of our members, and in this region, even more active on generators, on OIS, traction motors, drives and control, welder, servo motors, transformers, wind generator, power tools, switch gears, and then circuit breakers. And then you see here that in the light blue is the service provided by EASA members, the service that they subcontract, or the service that they do not offer. So at this stage, circuit breaker, for example, 63% of them do not offer this service now.
Frédéric,
yes.
I just want to expand a little bit on it. If you go back one slide, and I think the thing you can abstract from this slide here is that if you look at the typical EASA member way back, only delivered electrical motor repair. As we see, this is clearly expanding into other services. So the majority of workshop doesn't just do electrical motor repair. For example, drive and control repair, which is more electronics, but other types of trades that you normally see in this industry. So the industry has adapted and see that we have to cover more of the portfolio of our customers. It makes sense. We're already there. We have the welders. We already have the mechanic, the winders, etc. So it doesn't require so much to expand to a new field of service. So you see the typical member, especially in this region, becomes larger and larger and cover more and more of the scope, becoming a bigger supplier for the asset owners. So the typical repair shop you will see in Europe, they are very often have multiple different repairs they do, but also some of them produce, for example, coils of copper, or they have other productions on the side as well. So, and also you see in the gray area where you see currently subcontract. So you see that even though they don't do switchgear repair, they are responsible to the asset owner. So they take the whole motor repair, the switchgear repair, and they are responsible for outsourcing and finding their trusted suppliers to do that kind of repair. But they carry the whole risk and liability for the system or the drivetrain.
Thank you, Bjørn. And I think it's easy. The same problem that you have everywhere of not having enough people. So the end users are exactly on that position. And I think that's another reason why they ask us to do more and more, around motor systems than what they were doing before, because today they have the problem to service by themselves those machines. And that's why many of our members are now supporting them more and more in that direction. So if we look about other services, you see that visual inspection, it's still, let's say, a big part of the service that our members are providing. The root cause failure analysis, the preventative maintenance services, electromechanical predictive maintenance, dynamic balancing, startup commissioning, lubrication, asset management, motor inventory, maintenance services, cleaning, and so on. So sorry if I'm going through the list, you know, of all of those services, but I think it's very important for you to understand that today, when you service motors, it includes really lots of aspects, and this is why I'm taking the benefits of this presentation to give you those details. And again, you have, you know, the percentage that they currently provide by themselves, that they subcontract, and that today they don't. So if we look about energy audits, and we could have a specific session on that topic, by the way, because I think this is still a big problem, not only for us, but for also lots of consultants and so on. And I think there are some mechanical reasons in factories that today, you know, it's still a difficult question. But you see that 12% of them now provide those services, and 76% not yet. So in terms of predictive maintenance, because we understand that the world will be more predictive. So I think with all of the technologies we have access to and so on, there is no discussion that we will see more and more those techniques, you know, included in the service our members are going to offer. You see that the first one they provide is insulation resistant testing. You see that vibration analysis, 70% of them offer those kind of services. And by the way, this is very interesting because 20 years ago, this was, we were at far of that. It was really a limited number of members that were providing those services. And today, you see that most of the EASA members offer those kind of services. And then infrared thermography, motor circuit evaluation, motor signature analysis, partial discharge testing, lubrication analysis, and then ultrasound analysis. So again, you have an idea about, you know, which one do they do by themselves and which one do they provide with, let's say, do they outsource or then do not provide today. Bjørn, any comments?
No, I think you covered it right. And again, this slide also showed that the service industry is becoming more and more complex and delivering more and more. And also, we will come back to that in a later slide, but you see that the typical workshop doesn't only have mechanics anymore, in many other trades and different kind of engineers. So it's, for example, partial discharge testing, that is an advanced field of electrical testing. And it's a clearly need for more knowledge and other types of engineers within the companies. So it's definitely a business or an industry which is really developing and adapting to the new markets.
So just about which industries are we serving? And you see that water, construction, food manufacturing, mining, electric power generation, chemical manufacturing, plastics, paper manufacturing, metal, beverage. And so that's, by the way, one of the challenges of our industry is that we are not only servicing one type of industry, but different types. And I'm saying so because each of those industries have different needs. And then when you service them, you need to understand those challenges, because when we talk about repair and replacement, by the way, depending on the industries, these are some of the main challenge, let's say, we are exposed to, because you have really different type of needs and different mentality, different culture also, and so on. And then it means that the service company needs to adapt also to this diversity. So, Bjørn, I think would be nice that you present that slide.
Yeah, I would just say that the slide have just emphasized just what you've shown in the data. As you mentioned earlier, we're constantly doing research among the members and also the asset owners or the factories, just to get feedback. How is the industry changing? How can we adapt, etc. But this just shows it more in a historical view, because if you go back, let's say just straight after the Second World War, the majority of workshops, they were just based on reactive maintenance. They had a failure, someone called, they repaired it. then after a couple of years, I started with preventive maintenance. A majority of customers then changed. Okay, let's do preventive maintenance, doing the bearing change before it failed, or they went on site to do the services, to do minor services instead of waiting for a larger failure. Then, at least in this industry, maybe a bit later than some industries, in the mid-90s, condition monitoring really took off, which also changed because when you start doing condition monitoring, in theory, you're losing some of your business because you're extending the lifetime of many assets. So in theory, you reduce the number of repairs. However, you do the analysis instead. And then, of course, predictive maintenance, which now has occurred, and prescriptive maintenance now with AI new sensors. And we can clearly see that all the members are continuously adapting to the curve. If you look at on the right-hand side of the screen, you will see that the typical workshop then started as a workshop, and they jumped the curve. We're starting with preventive maintenance, and then it started with field services. But then also mid-90s, end of 90s, a lot of them started also with lifetime extensions. So when you change a bearing, make sure why you're changing it. Can we improve it? Can we improve the design? And then the next adaptation was condition monitoring, which the industry required, and the members came after. And then, of course, now with smart maintenance coming in with smart sensors, which is still a field which is quite difficult, but there are so many sensor manufacturers, and nobody has really cracked the code and found the golden egg. So we see that a lot of end customers, they struggle to find the solution they want. And we've seen that many members are trying to find solution they think the customers want. So clearly that's an area where it's not been settled yet, but it's under development. So these slides are just emphasizing what you said in the last couple of slides, Frédéric. The industry is continuously changing together with the end customer and adapting to the new maintenance philosophies as well as the new services required to be delivered. Because if you don't deliver field service lifetime extension today, condition monitoring, well, you're out of business quite quickly. Someone else will take it because that's the requirements from the customers. So it's been said very often, this is a very conservative industry. However, when you look at the evolvement through the decades, you can clearly see that it's not that old-fashioned. It continues to improve and find new tools and new solutions and use the new tools available. It just they're waiting for the customers to come on board. Next slide.
Yeah. So good. So let's talk now a little bit about challenge and opportunity and the emerging trends within the industry. So, and following this interesting presentation from a slide from Bjørn, by the way, you see that at the end, what makes also, let's say, our members quite special and so on, it's that they have a local business. There is here a radius that came from our studies about on which area the service companies are servicing their customers, and basically it's about 150 kilometers. In some places it can be a little bit less, but this is really important to understand that service is local, agile, multi-talented, and not brand dependent. And then, those service companies work on long-term basis. So never forget, because I had the chance to work for some big OEMs and so on, and compared to the product divisions, there is a big difference with the service ones, because any kinds of service you do is with the expectation that you will be contacted again for another service and so on. We all work on long-term basis, never on short-term, because that's the nature of our service. And then some years ago, we asked them to the end users, why do you work with EASA members, by the way? And there was a very interesting concept that came out from that study, is that they consider us like their trusted advisors. And then we asked them, but what does it mean to be a trusted advisor? Then they said, first, they keep their promises. They have to help us to solve problems, to find the root, because people forget that when there is a problem, you need also to understand how to prevent that problem. And for many productions, you need to make sure that those problems will not come again, because it's not only about production losses, it's also about safety. There are, let's say, some life-threatening events that could be bad to have again and so on. So this aspect of having an expert that can go through the details of the origin of the problem and so on is very important, because we work on long-term basis. So meeting and exceeding the expectation, providing, and this was already clear from the past slides, you know, services that the customers cannot perform in-house, presenting customers with options alternative, identifying issues before they become problems, offering new ideas, sharing knowledge, expertise, and then again, this idea of focusing on long-term relationship and building a long-term relationship. So we were happy to, you know, discover this aspect of trusted advisor. I'm not saying that we were fully discovering it because we knew many of those aspects, but this was confirmed by the end users, you know, through this market study. So Bjørn, maybe good that you explain a little bit what's happening in our industry right now.
Yeah, and we briefly mentioned it, but at the end, the service industry is all about the people. They are multi-talented. They do repairs of a motor, a pump, VSDs, etc. But if you go back, look historically, that was typical winder, mechanic, electricians, maybe welders. But there are changes coming in now because they require more from the repair industry. They also want the condition monitoring. They would like to have reliability engine and maintenance. So we clearly see that the typical workshop is changing now from the or brown trades to more white collar or blue collar with service specialists, data engineers. Just an example, one of the members we have in the Netherlands, he has 7 mathematicians hired just to improve his condition monitoring software. So we can clearly see that there's a complete change of what type of personnel we need. We still need the ones doing the rewinds and repair, but we also need to support in the office EX engineers, for example, working with risk assessments, making sure you comply with regulations, and also the welders, for example. In the past, everybody could weld. Today, they have to be certified every third month, depending on the country operating from. So we can clearly see that there are a lot of changes going on and requirements. So we recruit much more trades than earlier. So a big change compared just for 10 years ago. And especially if you go back 20 years, you wouldn't find half of those trades in a typical workshop. So.
Bjørn?
No, you take it, Frédéric. That's your slide. So you want
okay, so yeah, just to explain, because lots of you hear about servitization, and then I like to remind what does it mean, servitization, and this basic definition from Theodore Levitt. People don't want to buy a quarter-inch drill. They want a quarter-inch hole. And we see that with all the data that we have access to, it's definitely the direction that the service business is taking. And I explained already that most of our members, because of that, do not work anymore only about motors, but then on the whole system. And I think at the end of the day, the motor system is still a very interesting, let's say, equipment, because it's a cross-cutting, it's electro and mechanical equipment. It's a very reliable equipment. But from that point, you see also lots of interesting info that you need to communicate to your end users, and to continue to improve the process and decrease the risk that you have in many factories. Bjørn?
Yeah, and what actually, if you look at the interview, one of the reasons why EASA exists is because people want to cooperate and develop the world together. We will come back to speak about accreditation a little bit later on. But just as an example, the last 2 years, we have been working together to find the best practices among members in the region to develop an energy efficiency audit. So instead of every member developing their own energy audit, we have together found, okay, this is the best practice from Nigeria, this is the best practice from Italy, and we've asked all the members to come with their input and developed a complete list for energy efficiency or energy audit you can do on site at your customer. So instead of doing it one by one and develop, and it takes years, together we are much stronger. And the same we do with other things. So for example, substitution when it comes to replacement of chemicals. If you are ISO certified for environment, you already work with substitution. Some members aren't, but some members have reported what they've done. Other members gain value. And then, for example, for field services, of course, everybody speaks today about electrical car, reduce your cost, many other positive things, but also drive training. one member took a lot of took all the employees into drive training, and they reduced the consumption with 10%. That's quite a lot if you have 50 company vans driving around all day. Just those small things. And with being together in a cluster like EASA, we can cooperate and we can share information. So then we can share clever things as well, and also we get some good discussions. So someone might have a very good solution, and they get input and make it even better. So, for example, energy efficiency, operational parameters of workshop, reuse, customer branding, recycling. These are all fields we facilitate to improve the whole industry and helping each other cross-border instead of everybody working for themselves. So, high win for everyone, and so just a win-win actually.
So, because I'm attending, and this was a good question, by the way, from Fernando and Didert to say, can you also explore the enduring significance of repair and maintenance services? So just about repair or replace, and from the last Copper Alliance survey that was run, by the way, in 2024, and we had a first presentation of the results at our last event in Berlin, by the way. And it seems that typically motor less than 40 kilowatts are replaced rather than repaired. But I can confirm that depending about where you are and so on, the countries, in some countries it goes up to 160 kilowatts. So the 40 kilowatts was an average, but then you see that it can go up to 160 kilowatt. So what is still important to remind, because I think there are lots of misunderstanding about replacement. Some people think that we can basically just replace a motor like that. No, before that, you need, and I'm insisting on that because I think some people are forgetting the importance of having a complete expertise in the workshops to do a real test, because you really need to understand from where those problems were coming. And don't forget to look about that. I'm not saying to all of the motors, but for many of them that are important in the process and running some critical processes, this is definitely, and it doesn't, it's not only about the size of the machine. So this workshop aspect is very important. And then this is just to give you an idea that it confirms what I'm saying, because some years ago, we asked again to EASA members, how many motors do they really rewind when they receive them in the workshops? And we were surprised to discover that only 25% of the motors who are going to workshops are really rewound. So you see that behind that, there are lots of other services that are offered to our customers and are important for them. So why do we repair? First, we repair because lead time, you know, for some motors, it takes months, sometimes even years. I was aware during the COVID time, because of all the logistic problems and so on, that some of the motors were taking 2 years to be manufactured. So you cannot stop a factory, wait for 2 years to have those new motors and so on. So you understand that first, because of those logistic problems, because of those production losses and so on, repair is still a quick win to fix some problems and to make sure that factories continue to run. The second thing is that it's not always easy to replace, because when you do it, you need to integrate the motor in the new motor in a system, in an existing system, which is all characteristics with its own risk. Because people like to know the machines they are running for many years. Sometimes they have already some motors in stock and so on, so they don't want to change their stock strategy. There are also some certification issues. When we look about EX, you know, if you want to include a new motor, you cannot do it like that. You need, again, an assessment. You need to gain, you know, to get a certification and so on. So there are lots of reasons why people repair in place of replace. And you understand that it's not only about the budget, because that's also for sure an important aspect. It's also about the interlocutors. Sorry, but in factories, there are still different pockets and different budgets. And depending about those things, you know, you don't have the same requirements and so on. And then why do we replace? because first, you know that customer satisfaction is an important aspect for us. So whenever we have a motor available on the shelves and so on, believe me, we prefer to provide that motor and make sure that the customers are happy and can restart as soon as possible. We also do it because we now see more and more some opportunities to educate customers about energy efficiency, and then to show them that there's a benefit for them to use some different technologies. And then IC motors, this is just are dimensionally interchangeable. That's another aspect about why it can be easy to replace some of the motors. So just to show you the priorities that, so again, another EASA study, and then we ask again, you know, what are the most important aspects for you in factories? And you see that on top, and it has been always like that, is still reducing equipment downtime, then improving productivity and output. And then you see that energy savings, it's still unfortunately not a top priority, which is surprising because we know that there are many management studies that were done that shows that top CEOs at 97% would like to invest in energy efficiency and sustainability. But then unfortunately, there's still a big gap between those executives and how their team are managing all of those questions. Just, Bjørn, maybe you can quickly explain this slide.
Yeah, well, we do all this research to learn about the market, to learn how things are developed, and learn by the end customers. And one thing we have to also take into account is, for example, our supply chain might be difficult. But also, as you mentioned in some previous slides, sometimes the customer just want a 4-inch hole or 1-inch hole. If they have a motor that's working, they're not changing. They are not planned to change or upgrade their factory. They just want to do the same operation when the motor failed as afterwards. They just want to have a repair properly done. Because to change a motor can release a lot of other work as well. They have to update all the documentation. It might not fit to the new drive. There are so many parameters to take in. So it's really important that the repair industry is there, but also sometimes just do what the customer needs. And also, this is customer driven at the end. We can speak about sustainability improvements, but sometimes they just need the whole, and the asset has been working. And to do the change or upgrade of the line, that's a long time plan. So, so for example, repairing motors allow us to stretch our maintenance budget. Clearly, the repair can be a couple of €1,000, and a new machine can maybe be the same, but then you have to make a foundation, you have to change the drive, and a lot of other, it become a whole project. So sometimes we're just selling a simple repair, no question asked.
And then please go ahead also.
Yeah, and same here again. And this is also where we show our value, because when we do find a failure, especially for those ones who are EASA accredited and also, for example, ICX accredited, when they find failures on a motor, they can also give indications where did the failure occur. So sometimes when you have a failure, well, the consequential damage is the motor. The root cause is somewhere else. So very often we see members bringing more value to the table because they see, well, there's pitting in the bearings. You should check your drive or any other equipment around. So so just 45% have experienced that. So it shows that we very often bring more to the table than just repair as well, even though it's not a big change or an engineering task, just as simple here, put in a filter or change your settings. So we bring value all over the table.
Good. And then I think because time is running, so I think we need to squeeze, and then maybe you can give some quick info about the very important EASA accreditation. So
yes, what we have done together as an industry is develop something called EASA standard AR100. This is now acknowledged as an ANSI standard as well in the US. And it's also outlined for IEC 600 3423 as well. So what we've done there is, together as an industry, how can we lift the whole industry and also making sure that we are maintaining quality and efficiency. So what we've done there is developing a workshop accreditation, which go in and do an audit of the workshop. If you just go to the next slide, Frédéric. where we go into more practical auditing, because if you are ISO certified or many other certifications, they are more paper-based. You can do risk assessment to avoid doing things, etc. But what we're doing here when we do this audit, we're going straight into the workshop. We look at actually how they do lubrication. We look at the bearings. We look at the tooling. We look at the ovens, and we verify that the oven doesn't burn over 370 degrees, so you damage the core to maintain the efficiency of the motors. So this is a very hands-on workshop accreditation. So if you see workshops which has the accreditation, you know they have a minimum level, or when I say minimum level, it's a quite high level, I would say. But it's completely different from many of the other accreditations you see, where it's just a paper exercise. So the auditors here has to actually know the motors, know how repairs are done, and verify all they are doing. So and we can see now it's clearly increasing. Now 160 workshops, so soon 10% of the members are certified, and we can see it increasing day by day. But also what we see is that a lot of manufacturers and other companies and owners now see the value here. So instead of they come and do an audit, they say, if you have the EASA accreditation, we don't have to do an audit of you, because then we know your quality level. So we're working out to get this more and more acknowledged by the manufacturers as well as the owner or factory owners. And we can clearly see now the interest is picking up, because we are sending qualified auditors to do hands-on accreditations. Next slide. So I'm just throwing it out there. I think that this is one of my messages today, is that why not have the EASA accreditation as a global standard? We know that with the new sustainability trend coming now, we have to make sure we get everyone on board. We have to make sure that everybody delivers quality. And this is one of the tools we can use in the box to lift the whole industry. If you put this as a requirement, you will lift your supplier or service partner. So my message here is just look for this accreditation, go into EASA.com, have a read, and just see how specific it is to maintain the quality of the motor repairs.
And the efficiency of energy, because this is what also the most important message with this EASA accreditation.
Yeah.
So we are almost at the end. There was also some questions about advancements in sustainability practices, such as motor recycling. The first things that I would like to remind is that this is not new for us, because since we exist, let's say, we have to look about those questions. You understand that we cannot keep all of this copper in our workshops and so on. So there is definitely a channel that has been organized. What I'm also saying is that today, lots of local administrations, lots of local governments, and I'm saying local because depending about the region where you are and so on, you have different type of requirements. But now there are lots of reports that we need to fill. So I think we have already a very good understanding, you know, about what's happening about those motors at the end of their life, where those materials are going and so on. And just to show you that this is not only about, again, some papers, these are some pictures about how some of our members are, you know, recycling motors in their workshops. And again, thanks to Tomasz Dzierżyński, this is just one slide from his study, but he asked to the members, how do you work on that? And then pre-separation only with larger motors. So the smaller motors are usually not dismantled. They go directly to electrical scrap. And today, because there is, let's say, a channel that has been organized for that, so it's outside the EU that we see that there are lots of small motors that are recycled, but for big motors, not at all. And then, let's say, copper in the rotor is usually always taken out and sold separately at higher copper scrap price to metal brokers or to recyclers. And we know that today there are technologies to reuse this copper again for motors. And it seems that this is an industry that is developing quite well. So I think in the future also we will have more and more solutions to make sure that the copper will continue to be used also for motors. And then basically all metals from motors can be recovered at almost 100% with just some impurities. And this is again, you know, a description about those aspects. So because time is running and I would like to make sure that we have time for questions and so on. Just quick pictures of different workshops from different members, let's say in Spain, Azerbaijan, Netherlands, UK, this is Ireland, Portugal, and so on. And these are the different jobs that you see in a workshop. And the last thing is that if you go to EASA.com, there is a public page available for, let's say, end users. So just go on that and you're going to find already lots of documents available and the quality of those documents. So maybe good to now go to questions.